Hello, everybody. How you doing today? It's me again. It's Russell Mills. April 5th, 21. I want to say hello. Hope everybody's blessed today. Um, want to talk to you guys. I'm going to actually show you these clips as everybody's been seeing about the Derek Chauvin trial, that's been going on right now because everybody knows that he murdered George Floyd last year, putting a knee on his neck for like damn near almost 9 minutes. So I'm gonna, but I'm just gonna say this. At the end of the day, George Floyd should never have had that fake $20 bill in the first place. Because, like I've said before when I did a video last year about it, he should never have that money. If he didn't have that money, we wouldn't even be talking about him right now, and he wouldn't even been dead. Okay, not saying, you know what I mean, not saying that he's never had any issues before, but regardless if he did, he didn't. But, you know what I mean, but, they're questioning other people right now that I believe. So let me just try to get this going.
Plain English, help the jurors to understand how you might have eliminated that.
We essentially used a scalpel to cut into the chest.
Hold on 1 second.
Create a hole between the chest and the potential space around the lungs. We did not appreciate any large gush of air that might suggest that there was air in that potential space.
Was there anything that you looked at to determine whether or not the cardiac arrest was likely or unlikely to Mr. Floyd having had a heart attack?
A lot of that is based on the history that we received from paramedics. There was no report that, for example, the patient complained of chest pain or was clutching his chest at any point, or having any other symptoms to suggest a heart attack. That information was absent. Also, the fact that he was in PEAA systole, as I was told on the initial rhythm check, further decreases the likelihood of that possibility. At the time, it was not completely possible to rule that out, but I felt that it was less likely based on the information that was available to us.
Did the ultrasound play any role in the question of whether or not he did or did not, or was likely not to have had a heart attack?
No, not especially in this case, no. Did not.
Did you consider the possibility of toxins, for example, being responsible for Mr. Floyd's cardiac arrest, including potentially drugs?
In the sense that it might have informed our care, yes. There was, again, no report that this patient had, for example, overdosed on a specific medication, such as calcium channel blocker or any other medication for which there might be a very specific antidote. And so in that sense, I didn't feel that there was a specific toxin that we could give a medication for that would readily reverse his arrest.
And what about then hypoxia?
So hypoxia being, again, one of the most common causes of PEAA systole just in general. I did then, as I mentioned, use the ultrasound to look in the abdomen and did not see any evidence of hemorrhage. There was no obvious significant external trauma that would have suggested that he suffered anything that could produce bleeding sufficient to lead to a cardiac arrest. And so, based on the history that was available to me, I felt that hypoxia was one of the more likely possibilities.
And hypoxia as an explanation for his cardiac arrest, meaning oxygen insufficiency.
Correct.
Did you have any other leading theories as to why Mr. Floyd's heart may have stopped, other than oxygen deficiency?
Yes, I also considered an acidosis, in particular excited delirium, which is a controversial diagnosis, but it was in the differential in this case.
And were you able to make any assessments about so-called excited delirium based on your examination of Mr. Floyd?
Again, the patient had been in cardiac arrest for 30 minutes. It can be difficult based on the examination. Certainly there was no report that the patient was ever very sweaty, which is often the case when thinking about excited delirium. There was no report that the patient had ever been, that Mr. Floyd had ever been extremely agitated. In my experience, seeing a lot of cases of mental health crises or drug use leading to severe agitated states, that is almost always reported by paramedics. And so the absence of that information was telling, and that I didn't have any reason to believe that that was the case here.
So when how long was Mr. Floyd in your care in the emergency department?
Approximately 30 minutes.
And at the end of the 30 minutes, did you pronounce him formally dead?
Yes.
At the time you pronounced him dead, was he still in some degree in PEA or asystole in terms of describing his heart?
I think it's probably best to think of these as sort of a spectrum where PEA is some degree of electrical activity still running through the heart, but the heart's not pumping. And then eventually that will devolve into asystole, where both the heart is not pumping and then the electrical activity stops as well. And so at the end of the case, Mr. Floyd was still in PEA, but there was virtually no cardiac activity. And at that point, in the absence of any apparent reversible cause, and because Mr. Floyd had been in arrest for, by this time, 60 minutes, I determined that the likelihood of any meaningful outcome was far below 1%, and that we would not be able to resuscitate Mr. Floyd, and so I then pronounced him dead.
And doctor, was your leading theory then for the cause of Mr. Floyd's cardiac arrest oxygen deficiency?
That was one of the more likely possibilities. I felt that at the time, based on the information I had, it was more likely than the other possibilities.
And doctor, is there another name for death by oxygen deficiency?
Asphyxia is a commonly understood term.
Thank you, Dr. Langenfeld. No further questions.
Mr. Nelson.
o'clock, so we're going to take our 20-minute mid-morning break. Thank you.
So that's basically, the doctor that was there with the situation that happened with George Floyd. So again, I'm not going to talk too long about this, but I just feel like, again, if George Floyd didn't have this fake $20 bill, he wouldn't have been dead. Okay, we wouldn't even be talking about this case. It wouldn't even be, and even if Derek Chauvin had issues before, I believe with him before in the past, but regardless, or if George Floyd had issues before, as they've tried to bring up, oh, he had got in trouble in the past, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, he should never have done that. We all in this life have to make the right choices. And I know that it's not easy because we're not in a godly world. So I just say that we're not in a lot of us are not in the spiritual realm in our minds. A lot of us are very selfish, self-centered, arrogant people that think we could get away with everything and don't think that God is watching all of us, because He is. So people can agree, disagree, that's fine. You know what I mean? They could say justice for George Floyd, as people were doing last year. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is this: we have to stop being so damn emotional and stop looking into the facts. The facts is that this man shouldn't have died, but the facts is that he started it by throwing that negative energy out there, by having a fake $20 bill for a pack of cigarettes. So he died for a fake $20 bill over a pack of cigarettes. So that's how it is. But I'm gonna say this: I don't like the fact that he passed. He died from this Derek Chauvin guy, because clearly this guy was an asshole. Him and his people around him, and of course, no one wants to take blame. So I just say this: we all have to make better choices in this life. That's all I gotta say. But feel free to check out my YouTube channel. Type in my name. It's Russell Mills, RUSSELLMILLS, May 22nd, 2017. My first video was Why Black People Settle for Less. So everybody take care. Have a good day. Peace.